Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you very much for being with us this Thursday. Joe is on assignment this morning. We are going to begin with that deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas. Authorities say one detainee is dead and two others are in critical condition after a gunman fired multiple rounds early Wednesday morning before taking his own life. Police say no ICE officers were injured in the attack, but the FBI now says that attack was targeted violence after they say they found bullet casings with anti-ICE sentiments written on them. NBC News correspondent Alice Barr is in Washington with the latest. Hi, Alice. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. While this investigation is still in its early stages, political leaders in both parties are condemning a deeply troubling increase in political violence.
This morning, growing questions and fallout from the deadly shooting at an ICE field office in Dallas, with top officials promising heightened security.
Making sure that our ICE officers have the ability to operate safely. In fact, they've seen a 1,000% increase in violent attacks against them.
A gunman on Wednesday firing from a nearby rooftop hit a transport van, killing a detainee inside it and critically wounding two others before taking his own life. No officers were hurt but are believed to be the target.
Rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
Investigators releasing this image of a bullet casing etched with the words anti-ICE, along with photos of bullet holes in a window and an American flag inside the facility. Multiple senior law enforcement officials identifying the suspect as 29-year-old Joshua John. His brother told NBC News John didn't have strong feelings about ICE and wasn't interested in politics on either side as far as he knew. President Trump blaming Democrats, posting, "I am calling on all Democrats to stop this rhetoric against ICE and America's law enforcement right now." Top Republicans with similar messages.
To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop.
One Dallas pastor who's been praying with other clergy members outside Dallas ICE headquarters, calling for justice for migrants and against violence, speaking out against the shooting.
It couldn't be more opposite of the kind of message that we've been trying to witness to.
Among the voices now calling for common ground.
And other signs of the increased violence the DHS secretary pointed to include an ambush-style shooting on an officer outside another ICE facility in Texas. And during protests against ICE this summer in California, a man appeared to open fire at immigration agents there. Savannah.
And Alice, what do we know about the victims, about those who were shot in this shooting in Texas?
Yeah, we're pressing for more information there. The victims' names have not yet been released, though the Mexican consulate in Dallas said that one of the two critically injured detainees is a Mexican national, and consulate officials said that they had contacted the victim's family to offer support and legal advice.
All right, Alice, thank you very much. Well, today at the White House, President Trump is expected to sign a deal that would facilitate the sale of TikTok. That is according to two senior White House officials. Well, a majority share of the popular social media app, the plan here, is it's going to be sold away from that Chinese-based company ByteDance to a group of American investors. The White House has been signaling for days now that a deal was almost done. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joins us now from Washington with more. Monica, good morning. So the senior White House official confirms to NBC News that once the deal is implemented, TikTok's operations in the U.S. would be run by this joint venture company. We have heard some names here floated in terms of who may be involved in that. What do we know about what the future of TikTok will look like?
Well, Savannah, you've been covering this so closely as this has developed, and now finally it seems we have some answers about who's going to be involved in terms of the U.S. companies. We know that Oracle is going to be involved, Larry Ellison's company, and we know that there is going to be essentially a board of TikTok that will have 6 American investors on it sitting, we don't know exactly who, but who are going to be, of course, an important part in the future of this company and how it's going to work. And everybody who was wondering about how the algorithm was going to work, it is going to stay as U.S. owned. It will be essentially they will have oversight to ensure that that is not being affected by outside companies or influences. And we know that for now, in terms of those security concerns, which is what kicked this off initially because of that bipartisan law that was passed in 2024, that's something that now U.S. companies will also be able to review. So this is a situation that the president had been pushing for. You know, he had extended the deadline several times to keep it alive after it briefly went dark earlier this year. And this is something that the president, of course, discussed with China's President Xi Jinping when they spoke last week. And he did have to extend this one more time for the deal to actually go through and some of those final things to fall into place in the next 120 days or so. Savannah.
All right, a lot to watch for later this afternoon, we think. Monica, also I want to ask you, the president of Turkey is set to visit the White House. That's the first time in several years that this type of meeting will happen. Trade, military deals, those might be things that are on the agenda. That's something President Trump has been alluding to on social media. What are you expecting during this meeting?
Yeah, and President Erdogan is a close ally of President Trump. He hasn't been to the White House since 2019. And that was back when initially Turkey had been a part of being able to purchase these F-35 fighter jets that now they were not able to do so. But the president is saying that ultimately, if these talks go well, it's possible that Turkey will be able to do that. The reason they were booted out of that program is because they had purchased a military program from Russia. So those talks continue in terms of where the military positioning is and trade, but also we expect the war in Gaza to be a topic of conversation here because this is something where Turkey was involved in a big conversation earlier in the week in New York that President Trump was a part of too, with some of these other Muslim majority countries to try to discuss a potential end to the war in Gaza with a ceasefire and then some phases that they have been discussing but need to come to an agreement with. And of course, that is an important step that then later would have to be discussed with Israel. And we expect Prime Minister Netanyahu could be coming to the White House in the coming days because he is set to address the UN tomorrow. Savannah.
Monica, one more for you before I let you go. We are less than a week. We've been talking about this for a while now from a potential government shutdown. That also means the possibility of layoffs. That is now looming for federal workers. Our viewers can see this on our screen right now. White House lays groundwork for mass government firings. What contingency plans is the White House making if a funding deal is not reached before the deadline? What could those layoffs look like?
Yeah, this is a really significant development in the standoff. Essentially, the OMB, the White House, is saying that if there is a shutdown, that agencies need to prepare to have mass layoffs of the people who wouldn't necessarily be funded by whatever has been funded so far. That is to say, if funding does lapse, they could then make an argument to lay off hundreds of thousands of government workers. Now, remember, that happened earlier in the year with the DOGE cuts, and then many of those workers ended up coming back. So this is something that could be tied up in the courts and could face some legal opposition, again, if it happens. But this is also really about the politics, Savannah. This is the White House and Republicans sending a message to Democrats. Democrats are saying this is simply an intimidation tactic, but it's certainly something that they're going to be considering as we are now just 5 days away from that possible shutdown.
All right, Monica Alba covering a lot for us from Washington. Thank you so much. Well, the Justice Department is weighing up whether to indict former FBI Director James Comey for allegedly lying to Congress. That is according to two Department of Justice officials and also a person familiar with the matter. The charge relates to testimony Comey gave to Congress that was back in 2020. He's been a long target of President Trump, who he fired from his job at the FBI back in 2017 over his handling of the investigation into interference by Russia in the 2016 election. Well, just days ago, the president called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to prosecute Comey and two other political opponents. Both Comey and the DOJ have declined to comment at this point. But we have David Rohde. He's a senior executive editor covering national security and law for NBC News, joining us on set. Good morning. Thank you very much for being with us. So what are we learning here at NBC News about what these charges could center on?
So it appears that the U.S. prosecutor, the new U.S. prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia, is going to pursue an indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. It would be that Comey lied under oath during the questioning you were just mentioning about by Senator Ted Cruz. The problem with this case is that it's essentially going to be James Comey versus Andy McCabe, who was his deputy at the time, in that McCabe says, you authorized me to speak to the media to make this release. This was years ago. It was actually a damaging story about Hillary Clinton that McCabe leaked. And Comey testified under oath, no, I did not authorize that. And that's a sort of he said. And there's a chance here that grand jurors might not indict him because they don't think the evidence is strong enough. And I just want to say overall, This is just unprecedented to have the president of the United States fire or push out. And there was an initial attorney who wouldn't bring this case, and to publicly tell the attorney general, indict James Comey, has never happened before in American history.
Also, to take something to a grand jury with questionable evidence is quite unusual as well. There's been kind of some back and forth here. If you could walk us through this for viewers to understand. The Justice Department said back in July that it was investigating Comey. We knew that. But then we understand that the U.S. attorney that was actually overseeing that probe chose to just resign. This was just recently, rather than seek an indictment. What's going on here?
Yeah, his name is Eric Sept. He's a career prosecutor. He's also, trusted by conservatives and was very close to many people in Trump's inner circle. And there's reporting that Pam Bondi, the current attorney general, actually defended Sept. And there are guidelines to prevent prosecutors from bringing sort of frivolous prosecutions. To be prosecuted by the federal government, it's expensive. It destroys your reputation. So Sept, we've been told, resigned because he did not feel there was enough evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to prove, again, that Comey lied under oath when he was testifying to Congress. So it's extraordinary that Sept has resigned. And then the new attorney there has very little experience. She's never prosecuted a case before, but it looks like she is going to pursue this prosecution.
The timeline here, this would have to move pretty quickly, right?
Yes, the 5-year statute of limitations on when Comey allegedly lied before Congress is early next week. And so they have to move very quickly to indict him. And just one last dynamic here. Grand juries in Washington, D.C. failed to indict many people who were arrested. There were 7 cases in Washington during the recent crackdown on crime that happened in Los Angeles as well. So there's a chance that a grand jury might say, no, we don't feel there's sufficient evidence here.
David, thank you very much. Great to have you on set with us.
Thank you.
Well, there were a whole lot of eyes watching Jimmy Kimmel's return to late-night TV. According to early Nielsen ratings, his Tuesday night show, get this, it was the highest-rated episode in over a decade, drawing in more than 3 times its typical audience. More than 6.2 million, in fact, viewers tuned in to watch it live, despite roughly 70 ABC affiliates across the country not even airing the show. Also, those numbers do not include people who watched it on streaming services like Hulu. That hasn't been released yet. And on social media, Kimmel's opening monologue, the whole thing was posted on their Instagram and across platforms. It netted more than 26 million viewers in less than 24 hours. Well, here in New York, the war in Gaza is continuing to take center stage at the United Nations General Assembly. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is set to address the assembly remotely later today after he was denied a visa. He's one of more than 80 officials who have been banned from entering the U.S. by the Trump administration. This comes as Israel is continuing its ground assault on Gaza. The director of a hospital there, it's called the Al-Shifa Hospital, tells NBC News that nearly 100 bodies were received by hospitals in the enclave just yesterday. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley is in Tel Aviv with more on this. Matt, good morning. Thanks for being with us. So Palestine and its future, a major focus of this week's assembly. We knew that going in. These remarks that were earlier from President Abbas this week after France joined several other countries in formally recognizing Palestinian statehood, that was a big moment. What were some of his comments? What do we know so far about what we can expect from Palestinian leadership at this assembly later today?
Well, we don't have much information about what we're going to be hearing from Mahmoud Abbas and other leaders, when he addresses the whole assembly today as part of the regular session. We already heard from him a couple of days ago, as you mentioned, as part of a special session that was called by Saudi Arabia and France. Emmanuel Macron, one of the ringleader of all of these Western countries who have been recognizing a Palestinian state. I think that one of the things that Mahmoud Abbas has been doing on the public, in front of the public, the global community, for the past couple of weeks and days, and really for the past 2 years, is trying to distance himself from Hamas and the fighting in the Gaza Strip, and presenting himself and presenting the Palestinian Authority, which really doesn't have that much power and really doesn't have, and this was a lot of the criticism we heard when countries were recognizing a Palestinian state, it really doesn't have a lot of the presence that a government would have. It doesn't have dominion over the Gaza Strip. There are large parts of the West Bank that it doesn't actually control, that are either controlled by the Israelis or other Palestinian groups. So he's going to be making a plea not only to say that Israel needs to end its fighting in the Gaza Strip, but that the Palestinian Authority under his leadership can take up the mantle of a new day after in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank, and that it can continue to be kind of the big voice, the public voice of the Palestinian people to the international community.
Matt, other headlines from the General Assembly. Iran's president made some headlines with his speech. He lashed out at the U.S. and Israel for their attacks on the country's nuclear facilities back in June, notably something President Trump also brought up in his speech. What was his message?
His message was basically that the U.S. and Israel had radically destabilized the region and that they were the villains here. He wanted to remind the international community that, of course, it was Israel who started first in their attacks against Iran. And he also was talking a little bit about what's going on in the background amongst all of this diplomacy at the United Nations, and that is Iran's desperate effort to try to prevent European nations from putting back into place these so-called snapback sanctions that are part of that JCPOA, the big deal that the Obama administration negotiated with Iran to open up Iran back in 2015. It was later withdrawn. The U.S. was withdrawn by the the Trump administration in 2018. But the Iranians are worried that the European states are going to snap back sanctions on them starting on Sunday if they don't get some sort of negotiated deal to keep up this agreement by Saturday. So the clock is ticking for the Iranians, even as they're on the international stage blasting the U.S. and Israel for their behavior over the summer.
Well, let's head to Texas, where Camp Mystic plans to partially reopen next summer. This is just months after deadly flooding ravaged the area, including that all-girls camp, and at that particular camp, killing 27 people. The decision is sparking outrage among some of the victims' families. NBC News correspondent Priya Sridhar has the details.
Less than 3 months after devastating floods in Texas claimed the lives of 27 young girls and their counselors at Camp Mystic, the owners informing the families of the victims and the community in an email shared with NBC News by a source close to them that they have plans to partially reopen the camp next summer with a memorial, quote, dedicated to your precious daughters. The move shocking many of those families who told the New York Times they weren't consulted about the memorial. The mother of 8-year-old Seal Stewart, who is still missing, telling the Times, the camp is still pressing ahead with reopening, even if it means inviting girls to swim in the same river that may potentially still hold my daughter's body. The parents of 7 of those girls, now known as Heavens 27, sat down with NBC's Jenna Bush Hager earlier this month.
And as I started looking into, the different facts and circumstances, it became very, very clear that this wasn't an accident.
The owners say they'll reopen the area of the camp that was not damaged by the floods while they work to evaluate how to rebuild along the Guadalupe River. Also emphasizing they'll comply with the requirements of the newly passed Heavens 27 Camp Safety Act, which bans building cabins in flood zones and requires camps to have detailed emergency planning and training for all staff. Priya Sridhar, NBC News.
It's time now to get a check on your morning news now weather. We're actually going to start with a newly named tropical storm. This is Umberto. This morning, forecasters say it may turn into a hurricane in the coming days. We've got our meteorologist Angie Lastman here on all the details. Hi, Angie. What's the latest here?
Hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. Boy, it was a quiet start to our hurricane season, but things have really ramped up in the Atlantic, and that starts with something that we saw develop yesterday. That's tropical storm Umberto. Winds at 45 miles per hour and moving northwest at 10 miles per hour. Now, this system's still just under 500 miles to the east-northeast of the northern Leeward Islands, but we are going to watch it in the coming days to likely intensify, becoming probably a Category 2 hurricane by the time we get into Sunday, Category 3 by Monday, and then kind of sitting just off to the west of Bermuda by the time we get into the middle of next week. Now, we're looking for this to curve out to sea, so we're not all that concerned about impacts for the United States with this system, but we've got other things going on. We still are kind of dealing with Hurricane Gabrielle, but that is on its way to the east, so we're watching for impacts to the Azores for that. But it's Tropical Disturbance 94L that we're really going to keep a close eye on here in the coming days. It's got an 80% chance of developing over the next 7 days, and that means we're likely going to see this become a tropical depression down the line. But we've got a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the models. Here's what's going on. We kind of have 2 of these systems happening pretty close to each other, and this is all lending itself to that uncertainty that I mentioned with the models. So we don't have a good agreement on exactly what's going to happen down the line. 94L does look to develop into a tropical storm or hurricane down the line again. It likely, as far as the American model is concerned, will parallel the southeast coast, but then it kind of gets pulled back towards Umberto. And this is kind of part of what I mentioned yesterday, if you were watching the show, of the Fujiwara effect, where when two systems are really close to each other, they kind of do this little dance, a little do-si-do, and influence each other and interact maybe the intensity or the path of the other one. And that's kind of what we potentially could see happen down the line. But there's also, of course, the European model, which has kind of a different setup. The latest model run does show this system coming into the Carolinas early next week. Now, Umberto will remain well out into the Atlantic at that time. And kind of this is why we don't have a great solution for exactly what we expect to happen in the long term as we get into the early parts of next week, because the models disagree so much. So this basically means we've got to watch and see exactly where 94L develops. That location of where the center is when it develops is going to be really important. Does it interact with the Dominican Republic? Does it have to deal with the mountains there? All of these are questions that are going to kind of give us a better idea of where the intensity is and where the path of that system is down the line. But either way, we're going to be keeping a close eye on that from now until then. We've also got some rainy conditions to talk about across parts of the east. This is that same system that we've been watching for days and days. It's been a slow mover, but it is bringing some rain up and down the east coast today. We'll see the heaviest of it focused across New England with some isolated pockets of flooding possible. And of course, we know air travel, road travel could be a little difficult because of that today.
Certainly. All right, Angie, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.